Hey Stitches, your girl Kris here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel Unsewcial, where it's totally cool to be obsessed with sewing. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope that you guys had an amazing week last week and that you have already manifested all amazingness for this upcoming week. Now, for those of you who are going to be celebrating Valentine's Day on Wednesday, let me take this opportunity to wish you happy love day in advance. Whether it is that you'll be celebrating with a significant other or whether you're just going to go ahead and love on yourself, I'm hoping that you have an amazing, amazing day. No, your girl is looking kind of homey today, you guys, because I just finished washing my hair. Now, I know it's all nice to be all cute and dolled up on these videos, but the reality is I'm not always cute and I'm not always dolled up. What you see is not always what you get, you guys, especially with social media. So I just finished washing my hair and I said, sod it. I'm coming on to film my intro anyway. I am a wife, I am a mom, and it is impossible for your girl to be cute all the time. Now, that being said, I have nothing on me today to show you. I'm wearing just a t-shirt and an old pair of tights because comfort is key on a Sunday, you guys. But I do have something new to share with you on my dress form. So for those of you who don't know, this is Christina, and she has finally had a change of outfit. Now, you would have noticed in my last few videos that she has been rocking the Know Me ME 2016 by Beaute Jadore for ages. But she's finally had a change, and today she's rocking the Hilary top by Tessuti Fabrics. Now, I've made this pattern now 2 times, you guys, like back to back, and that is almost unheard of for me. But I enjoyed my first one so much, I needed to go ahead and make a second iteration as the designer intended. So you can go ahead and catch the behind the sew video about the Hilary top. I'll link it right here so that you can find it easily. And of course, I'll also land it in the description box. There is a video featuring like my fit adjustments, my sizing, and all of that good stuff in that video. Now, I will have an upcoming sew along as well for this pattern. And Tessuti has agreed to gift me with a 20% discount for you guys so that you can come along and sew along with me. Now, I'm still trying to fine tune the details, but once I have all the information ready, I'll be sure to be back and share it with you. So again, this is the Hilary top by Tessuti Fabrics. So keep a lookout for that sew along and for that discount code. Now, talking about ME 2016, which I said was a Beaute Jadore pattern, today's video also features another Beaute Jadore pattern. Now, you guys, February is Black History Month over in the United States of America, and even though I am not American, I do like to join in with the different challenges that I see popping up on Instagram from time to time. So my girl Natita hosts the Black Handmade Pattern Designers Challenge every February over on Instagram. And the idea is that for the month of February, we should highlight and feature Black pattern designers, be it sewing patterns, bags, jewelry, whatever it is. She encourages us to feature Black pattern designers through the month of February. Now, it just so turned out that for my Make 9 plans, which I'll go ahead and pop in right here, I wanted to make up the puff sleeve dress by Nikki of Beaute Jadore Patterns. So I wanted to take this opportunity this month to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But you guys, I had a major flop. As you will see in this video, I just could not get this pattern to fit me the way your girl wanted it to. Now, I indicated in my video that the sizing of this pattern, I did have some difficulties with the size chart. I have since spoken to Nikki about it, and it turns out that the size chart in the pattern instructions is actually your body measurements chart. So clearly, with that information, your girl was using the wrong size. And even when I went ahead and made adjustments, I was still using the wrong size. So with that renewed information, I might just go ahead and give this pattern another go. I think that is going to be really helpful in choosing the correct size, having spoken to Nikki. So even though in this video, I harp on a lot about the sizing, I think I have remedied that now. And if you want to go ahead and give this pattern a try, just be sure to note that the size chart in the instructions is actually your body measurements chart and not your finished garment chart like I had anticipated when I was working on my toiles. So without further ado, go along and check out the behind the sew action for my my Beaute Jadore puff sleeve dress. Here we go. Hey, you guys. So we're back with another episode of Behind the Sew. And for this episode, we're going to be working on the puff sleeve top by Beaute Jadore Designs. Now, let me apologize for the way I sound. So both of my kids are currently sick and I have been trying to battle off this flu. But I feel like the score at the moment is Kristen 0, flu 1. And so I do have a little bit of a sore throat, but I wanted to get ahead and start working on my newest pattern. Now, February is Black History Month in the United States of America. Now, I am not American, but I do like to support the Black Handmade Designers Pattern Challenge, which Natita of So Natural Dane hosts every February during Black History Month. And this year is no exception. But the pattern that I chose, which again is the puff sleeve top or dress by Beaute Jadore Designs, is going to double as my entry for that challenge, which again is the Black Handmade Pattern Designers Challenge. And it's also going to be one of my Make 9 projects for this year. Now, if you caught my Make 9 plans, you would have heard me saying that I want to make a dress this year. And again, I'm using for that challenge all indie patterns, and better yet, all new to me indie patterns. And this pattern designer, Beaute Jadore, whilst she is familiar to me, I have never made one of her patterns, and so I wanted to give this puff sleeve dress pattern a go. Now, I was really drawn to the sleeves of this dress. I've seen a couple iterations of it made up, and I really like the big statement sleeve. Now, the rest of the dress is pretty simple. It looks to me like a tent or an A-line type shape, but the sleeve moment is really what I am here for with this dress. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish putting together my PDF pattern, and then I'll think about what size I want to trace off and what pattern adjustments I might need to make. All right, so I finished putting my PDF together, and the upside is, although there were about 30 pages, it didn't take me very long to stick them together, and this pattern only has 3 pattern pieces. There's a front and back bodice, and then the sleeves. But of course, there is a, facing piece, which is sort of incorporated into the pattern. So for example, this is the front of the back. Oh, this is the back bodice piece of the dress. And she has just put an indication of where the facing piece is going to be. So if you're going to make this pattern, then you'll have to trace off the facing pieces off of the main piece. So in total, there will be 5 pieces cut from fabric: a front bodice, a back bodice, the sleeves. So actually 6 pieces because there are 2 sleeves. So the front bodice, the back bodice, 2 sleeves, and then the front facing and the back facing. So 6 pieces in total, which shouldn't take very long to construct at all. But I have not yet read the instructions, so I'm going to have a look and see what they say. But I don't expect this project to be too complicated. So as I said, I'm going to go ahead now and separate my pattern pieces, and then I'll get back to looking about the size that I want to trace off and the adjustments that I want to make. All right, so I've perused the size chart, and this pattern comes in a size 6, which is a finished measurement of 33.5 inches, up to a size 22, which is a finished bust of 44 inches. Now, I do find the size chart just a little bit difficult to understand because there's a note that says that the measurements are of the flat pattern, including 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So if that is correct, then it means that you have to go ahead and minus 5/8 of an inch on each seam for the bust, for example. So assuming that this has 2 side seams and a back seam, that means that we have to take off 1 7/8 off the finished garment measurement. At least I'm hoping that that's what it's saying. So for a size 22, which has a finished bust of 44 inches, if I take off 1 7/8, let's just round that up to 2 inches, then that gives me a finished bust of 42 inches. Now my bust size is 41.5 inches and a C cup, so I'm contemplating cutting out a size 20 at the neckline and the shoulder, and then out to a size 22 for the bust, waist, and hips. Now, I don't consider myself to be on the largest scale. I think I'm a mid-size at best. And I am maxing out the sizing on this pattern, which is again a size 22. And since I've never made any of Nikki's patterns before, I think what I'm going to do is to trace off just the lining portion in a size 20 again at the neckline and shoulders, out to a 22 at the bust line, just to get an idea of how this dress fits at my neck and shoulders. I think if I can get a good fit at the neck and the shoulders, then I can play around with the bust fit, and the waist and hip line fit on this pattern seem to be pretty forgiving. So I'm going to go ahead now and trace off the size 20, blending out to a size 22. So I've gone ahead and traced off the lining pieces, as I said, and I've drawn for some muslin fabric. So this is just unbleached cotton. It's quite stiff. It doesn't have any drape. And the fabric recommendations for this pattern are like denim and twill and, you know, those kind of fabrics that have good weight and no stretch. So I've drawn for my muslin fabric so that I can cut out my lining, and then, oops, that's the wrong piece. This is what I want. This is the front piece, which is cut on fold. So I'm just going to cut this out and stitch it up really quickly, just so I can check the fit of the neckline and the shoulder of this pattern. All right, so I went ahead and sewed up my muslin. I did put some balance lines on it just so I can check to see that this pattern is balanced on my body, and I marked in the seam allowance on half of my front neckline. Now for the back, I stitched up some of my center back seam, even though this pattern has a zipper in the center back, just because it makes it a little bit easier for me to try it on. So I'm going to go ahead and slip it on over me right now so that you guys can see what this looks like and help me to assess the fit of this pattern. All right, you guys, so I've sewn up the lining out of muslin fabric, and I do have a couple of observations. Now, the first one, which is quite obvious to me, is that I chose the wrong size to start with. Now, the neckline area of this dress pattern is just way too big. Can you see how there is so much bunching right here at the neckline? In fact, I can fold out perhaps an inch of fabric out of my neckline to get it to lay flat. So this suggests to me that I started with the wrong size to begin with. The second indication that I started with the wrong size is the shoulder line. Can you see how this shoulder extends way past the tip of my shoulder? So even if I were to mark in the 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, then my shoulder line still is way too long. So that is a second indication for me that I started with the wrong size. So I think what I need to go and do is to go down maybe a size or two, if not more, and then recut my muslin, and then I can go about assessing the rest of the fit. Now, right off the bat, I can see that this shoulder line rides towards the back of my body instead of sitting up on my shoulders. And that is because I do have forward rotated shoulders, but on this mock-up, I did not make my typical adjustment for my forward rotated shoulders. So along with sizing down, I am going to go and adjust this pattern for my forward rotated shoulders. One other adjustment that seems very evident to me is the need for my sloping shoulder adjustment. Can you see how the fabric right at the tip of my shoulder just sticks up and away from my shoulder? So this seam should sit flush with my shoulder line, and it currently is not. And that is because I typically have to do what's called a sloping shoulder adjustment. So I'm going to go ahead and make that adjustment on this pattern. Now, if I pinch up the pattern, the fabric right here, and get the arm side to lay sort of straight and flush under my armhole, under my armhole, then I can see that I can pinch out at least 3/8 to half of an inch from my shoulder seam. And that is a suggestion to me that I can go ahead and do my sloping shoulder adjustment. Now, I'm not sure how this bodice will fit over the bust, simply because the lining is not long enough for me to assess the fit of the bust. Now, I didn't think it was such a big deal because this dress is meant to be oversized at the bust, the waist, and the hips. But I can tell from under my arm, just by the sheer amount of length of my arm side, it suggests to me that this fabric is going to float away from my bust once it starts going down, because again, it has like a tent-like shape. But I think I need to fix the issues with my neckline and my shoulders first, and then I can move on to the bust line. Now, this pattern sits very high, and in the illustration it does sit pretty high on Nikki herself. But I don't like my dresses strangling me. I don't like anything too close to my neck, and so I think I'm going to have to go ahead and lower the front neckline of this pattern, maybe by a ½ inch or so, just so that it's more comfortable on me. So I'm going to head back to my cutting table right now and try to figure out what size I should size down to. Now, I did mention when I was putting my PDF together that the size chart for this pattern is sort of complicated. It doesn't give you the body measurements and the respective sizes and then give you your finished garment measurements. It just gives you one chart which says that it's the size chart, but then it's also telling you that the finished numbers on the size chart also include a seam allowance. So I was a little bit thrown by that in terms of choosing my size. But since I've sewn up this muslin, then I'm going to go back to the sewing table and then give it another shot. All right, so I'm back to the drawing board, and this is my lining piece, and it was originally in a size 20, but I'm now sizing down to a size 16. So as you can see, let me hold it up. This is the size 20 neckline right here, and the size 16 neckline is moving further in towards the neck. At the shoulder point, this would have been the original size 20 shoulder point, and that means this would have been the original length. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove, this looks like maybe 3/8 to a ½ inch. Let's see, ½ inch difference in the shoulder line. So I'm going to go ahead now and remove all of this excess paper. When you get to the arm side, this would have been the size 20, which is a lower and therefore a longer arm side, and it's moved up to a size 16, which should shorten the arm side just a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and then get back to my muslin and try again. All right, guys, so this is toile number 2, and I'm still not happy with how it's looking. So for this version, I sized down now to a size 16, blended out to an 18 at the arm side. Looking at it, the first thing that probably jumps out at you is how much excess I have at my front neckline. Now, I have pinned my microphone on, but I still think you should be able to see all of this extra fabric that is at my neckline. I would guess that this is about an inch, if not more, of fabric at my neckline that could stand to be removed. Now, the second thing that I notice is that the shoulder line is still up and away from my shoulders, and that is because I have not yet gone and done the ½ inch sloping shoulder adjustment that I usually have to do. But this definitely indicates to me that I could benefit from my sloping shoulder adjustment. Now I have put a mark right here at my shoulder line as well. I'm hoping that you can see it, because the shoulder line of this pattern is riding towards my back shoulder blade instead of sitting up on my shoulder itself. So I need to go and remedy this by bringing the front bodice forward so that my shoulder line sits where it needs to sit. And to do that, I think I'm going to just remove a ¼ inch of length between the front shoulder and the bust line. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove on my pattern piece like a ¼ inch of length going straight across the center, the front bodice. And that will have the effect of shortening the distance of the front bodice and therefore pulling my back bodice piece forward a little bit to accommodate for my forward rotating shoulders. Other than that, I think that the shoulder line is also a little bit long. Now I do have narrow shoulders, and I know that this pattern is intended to be oversized, but again, I do want to get a good fit around the neckline and the shoulders. I think that it is very important in a pattern like this. So it seems to me like this shoulder line can be shortened just a little bit. I have put a mark where my shoulder meets my arm at the socket right here, and this is where the seam should fall once you insert your sleeves. So if I were to add the 5/8 of an inch seam allowance right here, then my shoulder line still seems too long to me. So I need to go back to the drawing board and see if I can remedy the fit of toile number 2. So here we go, guys, on to toile number 3. All right, so I'm on to attempt number 3. And this one is in a size 14 at the neckline and the shoulders, blended out to a size 16 at the bust level. Now I have made a couple of adjustments on this version for fit. So I went ahead and did a 1/2 inch sloping shoulder, and I also did a 1/4 inch removed between the shoulder and the bust on the front bodice piece only. So I'm going to cut them back out of this muslin cloth, sew it up, and see what difference it makes to the fit of this garment. Now, in a dress such as this, because it's such an oversized dress and like a tent shape, I want to be sure to get the fit in the neckline and the shoulder just right so that the garment looks nice on me. I feel like if it's too oversized at the neckline and the shoulders, then it will just look like I'm wearing a dress that's too big for me instead of wearing a dress that is intentionally oversized. So that is why I am putting so much effort into trying to get the fit of this one just right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, sew it up, and see where we're at. All right, folks, so this is toile number 3, and I'm still not completely satisfied with the fit. Now, it looks better than toile number 1, which was way too big, and toile number 2, which was also pretty big. And in this version, I have gone ahead and made a couple of the adjustments for fit. So I went ahead and did my 1/2 inch sloping shoulder, and you can see that the shoulder line sits snugly now to my natural shoulder line. So that was definitely an improvement in the fit. However, I'm still very weary of this extra gaping at my front neckline, which suggests to me that the front neckline is either too big or is not balanced. I think I can fold out like a 1/2 an inch in my front neckline at the center front. Now I was able to do this in the bigger sizes as well. So I'm wondering if it's a case where this neckline is just not balanced. So I think I'm going to need to go back and play around with the neckline fit just a little bit more because I would like for it to lay quite flat right around the neckline. Like I don't like this extra gaping at the neckline. Other than that, if I step back, you can see that the front portion of my bodice rides up towards my underbust as opposed to at the side. And this is a strong indication for me that I would have benefited from doing a full bust adjustment. Now, if I do a full bust adjustment in this pattern, which is a dartless pattern, I have the option of either keeping the dart in and giving myself some more shaping at the bust, or removing the dart so that I can maintain the integrity of the pattern while securing a better fit. Now, I haven't quite decided just yet if I'm going to go ahead and do the full bust adjustment or if I'm just going to sew up this pattern as is. As a matter of fact, to be honest, you guys, I haven't decided if I'm going to sew up this pattern at all. Now, I did say that I am on toile number 3, and I can't tell you the last time that I have made a toile, never mind made 3. And I have made 3 toiles of this bodice alone. And that is because the sizing, as I keep mentioning, just isn't well done in this pattern. Like, I'm so accustomed to patterns giving you your body measurements and the size that corresponds with your body measurements, and then giving you the finished garment measurements so that you can make a better determination about what size to cut out. But this size chart, I don't know, Nikki, I don't know. I'm not feeling this size chart. I think this size chart overly complicates things. As I said, For version 1, I actually started with the size 22, which was supposed to best fit my bust size. The finished garment measurements on that one was, I think, 44 inches. And once I had subtracted the seam allowances, then I figured that that would have given me the best fit at my bust with a little bit of ease. And you guys, I was absolutely wrong about it. So I went ahead and sized down, and I used my high bust measurements to determine the next size, and I chose a size 16. That was also too big. And so for this iteration, I went back down one again to a size 14, and I am still not pleased with the fit of this neckline. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board and give it a think of whether I want to make a fourth toile or whether I'm just going to chalk this one up to a fitting fail. But I'll be back to inform you guys nonetheless. All right, guys, so we're up to toile 4.5, and your girl is fed up and completely exhausted. So I realized that even though I kept sizing down my pattern, now I'm at a size 14 at the neckline, I'm still getting this sort of extra fabric right here at the center front. That suggests to me, and I could be wrong, but it suggests to me that there's something off with the neckline balance of this pattern, because sizing down in effect creates a smaller neckline, a smaller neckline, a smaller neckline as we go down. And it brings the neckline closer in. So if you look at the pattern itself, where the lines are drawn for the neckline on this particular pattern, every time you size down, the neckline sort of shifts towards center front. And so sizing down should have helped me to fix this issue right here, but it hasn't. And so what I went and did was I shifted my front neckline in by a quarter of an inch so as to shorten my front neckline, because I have a feeling that my front neckline is too long or my back neckline is too short. Like, I don't think that the balance is quite right. Now, I also tried to do a forward shoulder adjustment by removing length from my front bodice and adding length to my back bodice at the shoulder seam. And so my shoulder line sits better now that I've done that. Before it was riding towards the back, and now I've done this adjustment, I feel like it sits better on my shoulder itself. But I still have not gotten rid of this extra fabric at the front. Now, I'm aware that this is a high neckline and I haven't cut slits into it to demarcate the 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And obviously the seam allowance would mean that the neckline would open up just a little bit more once I sew my lining to my bodice. But I'm just thinking that even though I haven't done that, the amount of gape at my center front neckline still shouldn't be this much. Now at the back, it doesn't look too bad, but the back is meant to have a zip in, and I've just gone ahead and tried to pin it in myself. So I'm not sure if it's pinned accurately, but the back neckline doesn't look too bad to me. It's the front neckline that has the gaping, and that is what is suggesting to me that there is a problem with the balance of the front neckline as against the back neckline. Now, I'm not a fitting expert. I do have lots of practice effing up my garments, and I have learned a couple tips and tricks along the way, but I'm not an expert. And so I might have this completely wrong. But I have done my regular adjustments, and on this pattern, I have even gone ahead and done adjustments that I don't usually do in an attempt to get rid of this extra fabric. Now, because this dress is meant to be made in more stable fabrics like denim and twill and that sort of thing, I need to get rid of this extra gaping so that when I make it up in that type of fabric, my neckline isn't standing away from the body. And I just haven't been able to get there just yet. So what I'm thinking of doing, I'm thinking that regrettably, I probably need to put this pattern on the back burner and maybe attempt it again sometime in the future. Now, I'm really disappointed because this is a pattern that I had thought of when I was planning my Make 9 challenge for my dress. This is the one that I wanted to make. And I was even more eager to make this pattern now this month in February for the Black Handmade Pattern Designers Challenge being hosted over on Instagram by Natita. But I think I have given it a fair shot, and I'm just not happy with how I'm looking with my adjustments. And I have spent hours, you guys, working on this pattern. So I think it's time to call it quits on this pattern, at least for now. As I said, I might get back to it at a later date, but for now, I just think I have invested enough time, enough effort, and enough muslin in this pattern, and I'm just not where I want to be. So I think I'm going to call it quits on this pattern. All right, you guys, there we have it. That was all the behind the sew action of the puff sleeve dress by Beaute Jadore Patterns. No, you guys, I know that this pattern has major potential because I have seen it made up beautifully on other sewists out there. And in fact, Carmen and Shishi, I'll go ahead and drop their links in the description box down below, recently hosted a live sew along right here on YouTube featuring this pattern. Now, Carmen went ahead and hacked the pattern into like this, what did she call it? Like a choir robe jacket situation. And it was really cute in this Ankara fabric. But she made up this dress as Nikki intended in like this denim fabric. And I loved her version. So I know that this pattern has major potential. And it's just a shame that I could not get it to fit me the way I wanted it to. But like I said, now with my renewed knowledge over the size chart, then I might just be encouraged to go ahead and give this pattern another go. Now, that is all I wanted to share with you guys today. As you can see, part of the sewing process is to recognize and to learn from your failures. Everything doesn't always work out as planned. And if you are a beginner sewist and things are not working out the way you plan, my advice to you would be do not give up. Sometimes you need to put a pattern to the side, have a think about it for a moment, maybe reach out to other sewists, and then go ahead and get back on track. Do not allow your sewing fails to defeat you. So that is all I wanted to share with you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, drop me some comments down below, and of course, if you have made it to the end of this video, make sure that you go ahead and click that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you never miss any of my upcoming videos. It costs you guys absolutely nothing, and it helps you to become a part of my sewing community right here on YouTube. So that's it for today, you guys. I'm hoping to be back, as I said, on Wednesday. But if not on Wednesday, then I'll be sure to be back on Friday for a new episode of Friday Sews. So until then, stay calm, stay cool, stay safe, and absolutely keep sewing. Peace.